Hey everyone, and welcome to Suburban Stone Age. Today is pond clean out day. Look at this. This pond that's been here like 3 years now, I think. I'll put a link in the description to the video where we put the pond in. This thing's been amazing. Such a good addition to the yard. The animals love it. The birds just can't get enough. So many families of birds have grown up here. It's wonderful. And it helps to cool the yard, and all these pond plants that I'm going to be pulling out here to make more room are going straight into the compost pile. So it adds biomass to the compost, and it's just a good thing. I really enjoy it. So I'm going to get to work. I'm pulling out all these plants, clearing some space, gonna do a water change, gonna top it off, and then later we'll go add some fish. I usually will put in some little feeder minnows for the summer, and they take care of the algae underwater, and maybe we'll add a couple goldfish to replace the lovely fellows that were eaten by the egret this winter. Sad, but that's nature. All right guys, I will come back after I'm done doing a huge clean out. So hey guys, I wanted to take a quick minute while I'm working on this and before it gets too noisy. The neighbors are doing construction, but I'm cleaning out the pond. And this is what I'm after. See this giant root mass? So what happens is that the plants grow along the bottom and they seem to trap all the gunk, and they create like their own mat filled with soil. And then there's all kinds of like silt, critters, rocks, everything. Leaves get in there and decay. And my philosophy is that that's actually what I want in my compost. So I'm gonna go put the actual greens in there. We're gonna add nutrients with this delicious, mysterious pond goo. And that's how the pond is contributing in a whole different way to the benefit of the rest of the yard. Now, one other thing to consider is a lot of these pond plants are not native. They're considered invasive, and that's okay in this case. Be very careful if you have some of these types of pond plants that you don't let them go into native waterways, because they can cause a problem. In my case, I made a decision early on. This was my first pond. I wanted to be successful, so I grabbed some plants that were hardy and I knew would make it, because I'm going to keep them in my yard and recycle those nutrients and be careful not to let them escape. So I just needed a proof of concept. So I went for some hardy stuff. Maybe next time around though, I'll do maybe a native pond. And there are a few native plants in here too that are doing well. So just a quick note, if you get mosquito fish or non-native plants or animals in your pond, just don't let them out into the nature at large. All right, I'll be back with more pond.
So what you see here is the hose that's pumping water from the pond into our garden bed. We'll be planting that bed out in a later video, but what's important is that you're seeing the multiple functions that the pond is providing for the whole entire system in our backyard. So I'm rooting around in the pond right now, pulling out plants that are going to be used for compost. I'm also doing a water change, which is important to keep the pond healthy and fresh, but it's also providing, fresh, clean water for wildlife. It's a diversity in habitat. But the water that we use to do the water changes doesn't just go down the drain. It gets put right back into the yard in the form of irrigating our fruit and vegetable crops, and that goes towards feeding our families. So it's taking the same water resources that could come from a sprinkler and using it multiple times. So what you see here is the pond at its lowest water level. The water's been pumped out for a water change, and that's been put into the garden. And the pond plants have been removed so that there's, biomass for the compost, and more volume has been created for the pond for the rest of the season. So now it's going to be time to go ahead and start filling it back up. To fill the pond back up, we just use a standard garden hose and tap water. I do put dechlorinator in there because our municipal water uses chloramines, and that can be toxic to fish and other like microbiology that's in the pond. So I do add a little bit of dechlor in there, and then it just, it fills up. And so the pond gets refreshed, gets a nice water change, and the cycle continues. And now it's time for the big moment. We're going to add our fish. I went to the local pet store and I bought these little rosy red minnows. They're very inexpensive, but what I really enjoy about them is that they're midwater feeders. So I do have goldfish that I've had in here for from time to time. But these guys, and I always have mosquito fish that will skim the surface and they're top feeders. But these guys do a great job of feeding in the midwater, and they graze on the algae and keep the algae down throughout the summer. And as it gets bright and hot in the summer, algae can really grow quickly. So they're fun to watch, and they school, and they're happy little fish, but they also perform an important function at the midwater level. And while I'm in here, I'm taking a quick peek down the fish tunnel. There's a tunnel in the pond that I put in there to have a place for the fish to hide and that will stay nice and cool in the summer. And it looks like they like it. So they are hanging out in the fish tunnel. So there you have it. It's pond clean out day in our backyard pond. And as you can see, we have happy fish. We got to add some new ones. We've created some compost. We've irrigated the garden. And all the while, the pond is providing habitat for wildlife, increasing biodiversity, and it's a pleasure to have in the yard. I really enjoy it, and please let me know if there's any questions that you have about the pond. Also, if you might be interested, I love these underwater shots. I think they're really relaxing, and I was going to set them to music. So if you would like to see underwater footage of fish chilling in the pond, just let me know. Thanks again for watching, and we'll look forward to seeing you on the next video.